Check, check, check. There we go. Okay, so let's look at what we need to do today. We're just preparing our final portfolios. They're going to be on Behance. And so we're going to need to register for a Behance if you don't already have one. A lot of you probably already have one from showcasing your work in other sites or other classes. And Behance is essentially Adobe's online artist portfolio network. And we need to create a new Behance page for our for both pages, for our playground and for the table, we'll call it table scene, kitchen scene. What's going to go on these Behance pages are videos that we've made, are beauty renders, and then additionally today what we're looking at is putting the 3D up on Sketchfab. Okay, so Sketchfab is the new thing. This is going to be an online platform. This is owned by Epic, who owns Fortnite and Unreal Engine, and is one of the best online ways to show your work. So what is this going to do besides showing it in a video and showing the render? It's going to allow people to actually sort of like click on it and inspect the 3D model and see the 3D model in 3D space without having Blender or something like that. It'll be clear when you see it here. Cool. Okay. So this is what we're putting into our final portfolio. This we'll have 2 pages, one for playground, one for kitchen, and we're going to be documenting everything that we've done in this class. Today, let's focus just on the Sketchfab. How do we get our models up on Sketchfab? So the process for that is that in Blender, we're going to export a GLTF file. This is essentially another 3D file that's been designed for the web. So we've used Blender files, we've used USD files to get back from Substance Painter, for instance. GLTF is designed for the web, so it's a lightweight format. Not one we would use for sending data back and forth between programs ideally. It'd be one for publishing, mostly publishing on the web, because it's going to support smaller file sizes. And so we need to export the GLTF file, and there's a few things we're going to want to do here. We're going to select the objects for export. We're going to set one default camera before we export, and then we are going to set the textures to JPEG so that the whole thing is small, because one of the things with using Sketchfab is we're going to need to make a Sketchfab account, and with the free account needs to keep everything under 100 megabytes, and our scene should be under 100 megabytes if we tell it to export the textures as JPEG. If you don't do that, it's not going to work. It'll be too big, and Sketchfab won't accept it. So let's look at this. So I have, this is Efren's, I think. Is this Efren's? I think this is Efren's. Yeah, okay. I have Efren's here, and we want to get this going. First of all, let's just check and make sure there's only one camera, and there is. Okay, that's great. And that camera is set up in a default place that frames our objects. That looks good. Okay, and now let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit here, and I'm going to go into wireframe mode, and then select everything here and come up to export GLTF. This gives us a window. Let's make a new folder to put this in. There we go. And a few things over here. We want to say our selected objects. And then under data, material, here we go, export. We're going to switch this to JPEG. And now we're going to switch the name of this to all and export. And we should get a thinking about it icon. And then if we were to look in that folder here, here it is. And yeah, everything all packed up there is 17 megabytes. That should be good. So over to Sketchfab here. All right, so you need to make a Sketchfab account. And once you do, then you'll have the ability to upload. And so in the upload button over here, we're going to drag that. Okay, let me just say this. There's sort of like two different flavors of this. GLTF is one, and then when you export it, it may look like a GLB file. These are going to be the same things for us right now. Okay, so they're both this lightweight web 3D format. Okay, so it actually comes through as a GLB here, which is fine. And let's drag that in. And then we'll say upload, and we will cross our fingers. There we go. Good, it uploaded. And now it's processing it. So this is taken, it can take a little bit of time here, depending on how smashed Sketchfab is, I guess, or, it's not, how much time would I give it? Max 30 minutes, right? Let it do its thing. And so while that's working on it there, let's look at the Behance page. Okay, so here we go. You can log into Behance with your Adobe ID, and then we're going to create two new projects, one for the kitchen scene and one for the playground. And so you go to create a project. There we go. And we can start building the portfolio of this project here. And in these sections here, let's go ahead and give this a little bit. We can add different things. So for instance, our images and text, under images here, if we look for this, let's see what I have that we've put up here before. I'll just grab some from Discord. Okay, can't grab it off Discord very easily. There we go. And we'll just save this. You'll have this as a file, obviously. And now that's something that we could bring in here. Great. And we can start to populate our portfolio page here, right? With our beauty renders. Under each one here, we can add text, right? Of the kitchen I modeled in Blender. What do you not need to say here? Do not say AVC 185. No one knows what that is, okay? You can say that these were modeled in a 3D modeling class, because that at least people would understand, okay? Do you need to say that you're in a 3D modeling class? No, okay? If you want to, that's fine. What I would try to talk about here is your process, right? I used box modeling techniques to create the table and chairs from a reference image. Do not copy what I'm saying here. Come up with your own explanation. Show your work. Talk about the process here. I use the box modeling techniques to create the table and chairs from a reference image. Subdivision surface modifiers. Were used to create the base mesh for the plates. All of these objects were textured in Substance Painter. And you could go on to talk about the Substance Painter techniques, right? This, especially in showing your work, is always positive in terms of potential employment. A big part of doing this is not only doing it, but being able to communicate clearly about it. And so this is one of your opportunities here to show potential employers that you can communicate clearly about what you did. You understood what you did. You would be able to show someone else what you did. You would be able to repeat what you did, and you can accurately describe it. You understand the vocabulary of what it is that you're doing and how to talk about it concisely and clearly. So each image itself should have some kind of caption underneath it. And let's check back in over here. Good. Okay, this is up. And so I'm going to call this kitchen scene a kitchen table, plates, chairs, silverware, and lamp that I modeled in Blender, right? So here on Sketchfab, you can use some of the same language. You can put some tags in here. This is under, can we say furniture? Is that a thing? Furniture, there you go. Take some time. You know, maybe you can probably use a lot of the same language that you're developing to use in Behance. Okay, and so I am going to say this is good, and let's save and publish. Okay, and also here, download. We put this at free so that we don't run up against any extra. If it's set to not free, you can run up against some upload limits, which we don't want to run up against this week. If you want to change this later after the semester, that's up to you. There we go. Okay, I guess you can't use that tag with this. Whatever. Okay. There we go. Okay, now let's look at the settings here. Let's go to View My Model. And here's the power of Sketchfab, is that just over the web, someone can look at everything that you've done, right? And so here, we can look at it exactly, what's going on. And not only that, but it can be inspected, right? So someone can go ahead and look at the wireframe of the entire thing, the surface shading, vertex normals, a lot of vertex normals. You look at each individual channel of information, and even look at the UVs in order to see, okay, does this make sense from a UV standpoint? So it's great without having to, you know, download something super heavy. Everyone can inspect what it is you're doing, and you have a really nice document of what you've created. Now, let's see if we can adjust some of this here. So let's go down here and go to Edit 3D Settings. Let's see if we can have it use the camera rather than loading here. Yeah, okay, so here we go. Let's say that this is going to be our initial view. So Efren, your table, it seems like it's not quite on the floor, so there's something to fix there. But we'll save this as the initial view, which is great. Actually, let's get in a little bit closer so that we don't see the edges of the... I'm going to do more like this. Come down. I want to be able to how's that save you? Yeah, having this, if you're going to have a backdrop, have it extend a little bit further might help, unless we want a longer focal length here. Oh, this is field of view, so it'll be the opposite. Okay, so this will flatten it out. There we go. This will work better. Now this is a little bit more isometric. We can adjust the camera so that this, we don't want to go way down here because it's going to get kind of strange. So this can be our initial view, maybe up a little bit, kind of like so. There we go. That's a much better initial view. We can see everything. what else can we do here? Background. This, you can change your background if you don't have something in the back. Lighting, our biggest thing here is that you can pick what kind of HDR you want to use to light the scene. Mine seems to have become unresponsive. Let's just hit save. And I'm going to reload this. Yeah, okay, so there we go, now it's working. You can choose a different HDR to use to light the scene, something that's going to show off the something a little bit more. There we go. This is a little bit brighter. You can see what's happening. You can rotate this to adjust and sort of dial in our shadows. Our big thing is you're selecting this and selecting the orientation so that the shadows aren't coming forward, they're going back into the scene. Okay, so that's good. I think our ground shadows don't do much here because this actually isn't sitting on the ground. But let's see what a 3-point light looks like instead. I'm going to turn the environment off. So some other lighting options here. Again, trying to select something that you feel is fairly neutral. I kind of like the results from the other one. Do we get any intensity there? Okay, per light. Okay. Yeah, so you can adjust some of your lighting settings here, depending on what it is that you're looking for. Let's go with the HDR for this for now. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's save. Let's come over here to materials. And we may need to adjust some of this to get the glass to look correct. Let's see here. We're just not getting any. We need workflow mentalists. Oh yeah, opacity, here we go. Invert. Okay, invert. That gives us exactly what we want. Very nice. And then tint, refraction, and you can actually give it some index of refraction in order to create that warping that would happen with the glass. Someone will come in and look at it. Now we get that really great, even real-time warping of the glass there. Beautiful. Okay, let's see if we can get to the other one here. Which one is this? Oh, cool. You can just click on it and it selects it. That's beautiful. Okay, so now here on our opacity, on, I don't know why this one, we had to unclick invert. Is this one also? Okay, yeah, you have to unclick invert. There we go. That gives us the glass. Come back to this one. Turn up our index a little bit. There we go. And you can sort of play with this, but there we got that. Looking nice. Let's see if we can get more of our, that's under refraction, additive, dithered. Ideally, you want a little bit more of that coming through. This isn't the end of the world, but we can just sort of see what we can do to get it. Cool. Okay, that works. A little bit too strong on this, I think. Okay, post-processing filters. The only thing to really entertain here, again, you don't want to put so much extra stuff on top that's going to subtract from looking at the model. So screen space reflection in this scene is going to affect maybe the glass a little bit. Screen space ambient occlusion. You can see that gives us a little bit of darkening where the objects sit around other objects. And then vignette just gives us a little bit of darkening around the edges, sort of focus the eye on the middle. This sort of darker, grungy scene, that works really well there. And then, yeah, that's kind of where I would leave it. I wouldn't go crazy with the other stuff there. And under annotations, animation, that's great. And so let's save this and let's go back here. And how do I get this into Behance? We embed it. And so when this comes back here, awesome. Now it loads that nice scene, nice angle. And then down here, I can go to embed and copy the clipboard, come over to my Behance project. And after this, I grab embed and paste the code in there and say embed. And now below my beauty shots, I have my completely interactive 3D view of the scene live in my Behance, which is beautiful, Behanceable, beautiful. Great, that's great. Cool, okay, that works. So I'll put up some requirements, exactly what I want on each Behance page. I'm going to be looking at a couple different, we're going to want to be showing a beauty shot and then an overlay here. If we want to have images next to each other, if you go to photo grid here, now you can add an image and add another image next to it, which would work well for showing the scene and showing the topology of the scene in the topology render. So for instance here, or do you need to send it both at the same time? I think you need to upload both of them. Let's get rid of this one. There we go. So when we have multiple images, you select them all at the same time and it'll put them across like so. And so we'll have our really great Sketchfab embed here and all of our other beauty shots in addition to our description of what we've done and how we've done it. In here, I'm going to really ask you to focus on specificity. This is going to kind of be our test. Show me, by discussing it in a clear and coherent way, that you understand what it was that you've done in order to make these. Talk specifically about Substance Painter. Talk specifically about the modeling in Blender. What makes it look good or not good? What did you try to do to make yours look as good as possible? Cool. Okay. Great. Yeah, I think that's everything we need to get everything up on Behance. We're going to, again, make 2 of them. The kitchen scene, we're going to do the Sketchfab for the playground not. And so we'll have that up there. And so the kitchen scene that we want to bring in for the Behance profile is going to be the complete one. So lamps, plates, silverware, napkins, table and chairs, and backdrop if you want. So this will be great. All right, I'll put this up as soon as I can and link to this on the Discord as well, and I'll see everybody on